of the college football season. Let's take a quick look and see how things stack up, and here's James.
What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36 here with Greg McGarity, and this is the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive to Selection show presented by Toyota. Each and every week we come through, we talk about last week's games and the upcoming games in college football and how it relates and affects the Jacksonville community with the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl played December 29th at noon. Each and every week, it's been crazy. Very fun, but the only thing that we all know is that nobody really knows anything. So, how you doing today, Greg?
I'm doing great, and it was a wacky weekend for sure.
Yeah, we got some people who actually are bowl eligible, which is always fun, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to pick them. I saw one really cool tweet that said Gator Bowl licking their chops for 6-6 Clemson versus the 6-6 Florida, and I was able to educate people. Said, I don't think that's how it works. We don't take 6-6 teams here with the Gator Bowl. You got to be a little bit winning. But what was your thoughts just on the overall landscape of college football last week, and then we'll go into the conferences?
Well, I thought there were some games that were hard to explain if you just looked strictly at the predictions and the spreads and things like that. But Georgia Tech beating North Carolina certainly upset some things. North Carolina's got to kind of get back on track. They've lost 2 in a row. But NC State winning. Boston College now has 5 wins. You've got that on the ACC side, and Clemson, losing. They've got a big game with Notre Dame this weekend, but also on the SEC side, not a lot of huge upsets, some big games, but some really, really big matchups this week that are going to affect our game in some shape.
Yeah. One of the things, we have a conspiracy theory going on my show and things like that, but ACC big time school don't want to be on the CW. That's where North Carolina, Georgia Tech was at. Clemson, Virginia, and Louisville, Pitt. Yeah. So if you're playing a bad team, being on the CW doesn't help you. Last week, though, we did see some things that kind of helped. Miami won. Mm-hmm. They tried to lose, but they definitely won. That kind of keeps them in hopes for our bowl.
Absolutely, with 6 wins, and that's what's important on the ACC side is the total number of wins, because again, there have to be at least three teams in the premium pool, which include us. It includes the Holiday Bowl and the Pop-Tart Bowl. So a lot more prescriptive in the ACC, greater flexibility in the SEC, depending on the matchups.
So this week, technically, it already got solidified, but Florida State pretty much has a pathway. If they beat Pittsburgh this week, I guess this is a weird way to say it, but they're eliminated from our bowl matchup. Louisville still kind of in the hunt. You never know, but they're looking like more of a New Year's 6-day bowl. What are some of the other teams that are still looking, like based upon what we see now with the records, that are still looking towards possibly being in our bowl?
Well, you've got, you would have to think, based on information right now, Notre Dame and Louisville playing up in the New Year's Day bowl games, but also the college football playoff rankings come out this week. So that will certainly give a much more clear path on who has a chance to qualify for the New Year's Day 6 bowls, and then who qualify for that next tier of bowls, which we fall into. So it's really going to be interesting to see where some of these teams are ranked. But you've got in play for our bowl on the North Carolina, Duke, Miami, NC State, BC. You've got Notre Dame, which can't come here, but do they fall back if they lost this week to Clemson into our bowl mix? And again, we couldn't take them, but it still takes up a spot. The SEC side, a lot hinges on a lot of the Alabama-LSU game. Obviously, if LSU wins, does that take the place of Alabama up in the New Year's Day 6 bowl? If Georgia continues to be in the top 4, if they're going to be in the top 4, we'll just have to wait and see. But a big win by Tennessee over Kentucky. That was a big win there. But both those teams are in competition, and really the only ones that aren't are basically right now, I'd say Arkansas, Vandy, Auburn, South Carolina can't come, Mississippi State, but really everybody else is in play.
So going to the SEC side, you've been on both sides of this. Georgia, Florida this past weekend. Kirby did a pretty good job against some Florida. Florida had some made it interesting on the first drive and in the first quarter. What do you think about that trick play, 4th and inches? Is that a conversation worthy type thing to have with your coach? Or is it just something like, you know what, we just know we're outmanned here. We just got to do whatever we got to do.
Yeah, I think as an AD, you wouldn't question that call about what do you do, and I think the coach thought that was the best way to keep some momentum or try to create momentum. But there's risk and reward. When you're in your own territory, I think it's magnified even more. If that play had not have worked maybe in Georgia territory, their reaction might not have been so swift. But I think since it happened inside 40, on their own 40, I think that created just some angst. And such a pivotal play, because you don't make that play and all of a sudden the momentum changed, and it certainly changed as I think there were probably 9 points scored in the next 5 or 6 plays after Georgia scored a touchdown, then got the block punt. So a lot pivots on risky plays. It's risk and reward, and you have to live with the results.
Yeah, and now Florida's in a situation where they're right on the cusp of becoming bowl eligible, but the next few weeks are not easy. I mean, Arkansas kind of wounded animal type of thing, and then the games after that, another major rivalry game. Well, actually 2 major rivalry games with LSU, then you play Missouri, then you end the season in Gainesville with Florida State. So this week coming up, what are the matchups that we should be focusing on for the ACC and the SEC?
Well, I think you start off with Miami and NC State. NC State's got 5 wins, Miami with 6. That'll be a really pivotal game for both teams. And Virginia Tech, who's really came on strong after starting very slowly at Louisville. Can Louisville maintain that momentum, or does Virginia Tech continue to really play well? I think those are the 2 premier games to look at in the ACC. And then you flip to the SEC, you've got a great doubleheader on CBS with Missouri traveling to Athens. The winner of that game will be in control of the East, going to Atlanta. And then you've got A&M at Ole Miss. That's a huge game for Ole Miss. Do they stay in the running for maybe a New Year's Day Bowl? What does it do with A&M? As A&M tries to march towards relevancy, that'll be a tough win. But I think in the LSU at Alabama game, that will tell a lot. If Alabama loses that game, then what happens to the representative from the SEC in the Sugar Bowl, or the replacement for the Sugar Bowl, because Sugar Bowl is one of the semifinals. So a lot of big games going on this weekend, but a great weekend for TV, stacked with your 12 o'clock games, your 3:30, and then your 7 o'clock games.
Yeah, that Miami NC State game, interesting because it's in Raleigh, very difficult place to play. And Miami has been held to shelter. Good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose. And Miami is teetering on both of those things. So, but NC State, again, trying to get to that bowl relevancy, trying to get there, remain there. The Virginia Tech Louisville thing, I told people Virginia Tech gave Florida State a really good shot. They have a young, big, scrambling quarterback that doesn't mind throwing the ball deep. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with Louisville, because if Louisville's doing a really good job with a first year coach, and it would be interesting to see. I know a lot of people fear the matchup of Florida State Louisville in the ACC championship, so that would be interesting. LSU Bama, I want to know who's going. Like, can they continue to score those points? Plus, Florida State fans want LSU to keep winning because it makes that win look a lot better. So, moving forward, we got some things changing on the board a little bit. Right now, North Carolina's loss seems to be Jacksonville's game. Everybody's talking about them. And I don't really see a bad matchup with any of them. CBS and Athlon had UNC versus Tennessee. College Football News and ESPN having North Carolina, Florida. I think both of those matchups will be really good for TV, offenses that put up points, but also good for the game with people who are actually come down. Have you ever met Mac Brown before?
Never have.
I'm interested in that. He didn't recruit me out of Texas. I was upset. I like that. Miami, Tennessee, still up there on the board. Miami, Ole Miss. There was something we were talking about that could have actually happened. We knew it before we talked about it, but it almost looked like an LSU Florida State rematch. Obviously, isn't happening, but a Texas A&M Miami rematch, besides Texas A&M kind of turned down, but that's absolutely out of the question.
Yeah, that's out of play because they've already played this year and can't play again.
Oh man, that'd have been. Actually, I don't think I would want to see. I want to see Miami play somebody else, and Texas A&M still fighting and doing those things. So right now, if you had to pick, who are you're on the college football playoff selection committee. Mm-hmm. Who are your four?
Well, I'm going to go with Georgia at the top. The Michigan, Ohio State, I'm not really sure where those teams land. Mm-hmm. I hadn't studied that quite enough. I think Florida State has to be up there and Washington. So there are really 5 teams. And then Ohio State and Michigan, one would knock the other out if it all played out. I think they'll all. I think the undefeated teams will dominate. How many will there be? Will there be 4 or will there be 5? There can't be 5
right.
Because of Ohio State playing Michigan. And then Penn State's got to play Michigan too in there. I know Penn State has a loss, but there's outside chance Michigan could have 2 losses. They've got so many other things going on in their program now that
yes.
I think that will distract them a bit. It can't help but distract things. NCAA's in your backyard. It's probably not a good thing to be focused on right now, but can they plow through that? We'll just have to wait and see. But certainly, now that the college football playoff rankings will be revealed, it gives everyone a better chance to work on the what ifs, because you'll see the rankings, you'll see can a team jump another, the matchups there, because once that first one's out, there's a good bit of movement, but not a ton of movement from that point on, especially if you keep winning.
I think everybody got the script to make the case for a 12-team playoff. If there was ever a year to make a case for a 12-team playoff, this would be the year. When they first started talking about it, I said nobody wants to see Georgia blow out another team in the college football playoff. But then this year's probably been one of the most parity-filled, week in and week out seasons that we've had in quite some time. All that to be said, make sure some really, really good matchups here in Jacksonville, Florida on December 29th at noon for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. Tickets are now available,
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
So no matter who it is, if you're in the city, you need to be purchasing tickets. It's a great event. Going to be 2 great teams that are going to be here. And each week, we're going to start telling you to do that as we do our TaxSlayer Gator Bowl Drive the Selection presented by Toyota. See you guys next week.
Welcome back to another Off the Field segment. Things are kicking up. We have about 60 days left of the year. It's crazy to believe that we're already in November, and a lot of our charitable programs are continuing and kind of hitting full swing. So yesterday was the deadline for the scholarship applications. The Gator Bowl Charities Award of Excellence Scholarship presented by Momentum Transportation. We had a great round of candidates. I'm excited to get the applications to our scholarship selection committee, which is made up of about 30 Gator Bowl sports members that throughout the next month or so, they'll take time reading those applications and essays before giving us our final 4 recipients that will be honored both at our holiday party as well as on field. So excited to see who they end up choosing this year.
One of our fastest growing groups, the Bowl Ladies, comes together tomorrow for College Football 102, which is the second in a series of luncheons that really focuses on football and teaching the basics of college football. Tomorrow's luncheons focus on team selection, so we'll walk through selection as it is right now. There's not a tremendous amount of teams bowl eligible yet, so the next 4 weeks of college football, as Greg and James talked about, will be really instrumental in the selection process. But we're going to walk through the ladies, teach them what to look for over the next 4 weeks of football as we navigate the selection process. In the second half of that luncheon, we feel like it's really important to share what game week looks like and the impact not only of what happens on the field, but also the week of experiences for the college football players, the student athletes, as well as some of the kids in our community. Speaking of which, who's joining us tomorrow for lunch?
We're really excited to have a great panel with us tomorrow to talk through game week and some of the community impact that happens. We have 3 awesome panelists. One is a member, Sandy Harbison, who serves also as the spouses host for the SEC team while they're here. So she's going to talk about kind of that experience in addition to some of her scouting experiences as a Green Jacket member. We also have a former Dream Team member that I'm really excited to have. Cammie Naff is a 10th grader, and she's going to come sit on the panel. She was on the 2018 Dream Team, and then additionally in 2021 on the All-Star Dream Team. So she's going to come tell all the ladies about her experience as a Dream Team member, which will be fun for them to hear straight from her. And lastly, we have Brandon Mack from Duval County Public Schools, who, in addition to his role there, who helps greatly with our MVT initiatives and all other DCS initiatives. He also is a board member of Blessings in a Backpack, the First Coast chapter. So he's going to come talk about both our education initiatives in addition to what we do through Blessings in a Backpack.
We partnered with First Coast Blessings in a Backpack about 4 years ago to create a team philanthropy event during the time which the players are here from Christmas to New Year's. And what it affords us to do is the ability to pack 1,000 bags of food total. Each team packs 500 individual bags. It's non-perishable food, so we store it after the packing event and then have the opportunity with some of our Green Jackets to go distribute that to local elementary schools on the First Coast and a lot of times in the urban core. But I think the best part of these bags is they have a handwritten note from a player. So each of the players handwrites a motivational note to a local student. They don't know who's getting it. So it's not personalized to the student, but it is signed by the football player, and that's a pretty special experience for those kids when they get their first bags, when they go back to school after the first of the year. And if you'd like to get involved in that, just reach out to one of us and we can share more about the program. It's a year-round program that focuses in schools all across the First Coast. So next week, when we come back, we're going to start talking about Send a Child to the Games and the rest of the programs that happen in charities as we wrap up this year. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.